CLion, a cross-platform IDE for C and C++. Download now.
All right. So hi, my name is Koen Samyn. I was preparing a workshop for reflection, and I needed an example of stud meta substitute, and this is kind of the adventure that I had when doing this. So my idea was to just make a simple, tiny stack-based machine and use the reflection capabilities of C++26 to implement this. So very simple, stack-based. We push something on the stack. It appears on the stack. The instruction pointer and the stack pointer updates. We add, and then we take two numbers from the stack and put it on the stack again, and then you halt the problem. That's basically it. So how do we do this in C++26? Simple. We create an enum, push, add, sub, and halt. Sub I don't actually need and don't use, but anyway, it's there. I encode this into an array of bytes. I have an array that's fixed length, so I use 2 bytes for each opcode as a first approach to keep it a bit simpler. But with C++26, it's also possible to actually have variable length opcodes as well. And I use a templated function to implement all the opcodes that I have in my system. So it's a template that's templated on the opcode itself and one argument. Again, this is a first approach. All the opcodes have one argument now, which is not necessary for add and halt, but this can be changed in the future. This is just a quick demo to demonstrate the concept. As you may know, if constexpr, it selects one of the branches, and that's the only branch that will be expressed in the final code. Let's go back to the template itself and go into reflection code. So now we can make specific instantiations of this template with reflection. And the first thing we need to do is reflect the execute function. So that gives us a reflection of the execute function, and we get an info object that describes or that has the metadata of this function. Next, we take the data from the program. Remember, the program was an array of bytes. I don't show the template for loop here. Only show one loop expression. But of course, with template 4, you can run over this loop. Again, template 4, the entire loop will always be unrolled. So this will become, with template 4, one big expression of all the data in that for loop. Then the special thing is that we can now, with substitute, this is really the most powerful thing in C++26 reflection framework, I think. We can now call substitute, and substitute is going to make a specific instantiation of the template. So this means that actually we're kind of compiling our program here. Finally, and this is something that's also difficult for me, we splice that spec back in. It decays to a function pointer, and we can store that function pointer in an array of function pointers. So our program, we can compile it with create program. I didn't show that, but that's the reflection, the substituting and splicing of all the code. We step through the program and return the first element of the stack. And if you compile this with O2, you get, we had, what was it again? 13 and 29, and we get the 42 result compiled in main. So this is really mind-blowing to me. It's a whole new way of using C++. You can create inlineable functions that can be directly called. So if you create an emulator, it's typical that you have a giant switch case or some other way to do this. So you can create emulators with the system with a bit of extra work. You can do variable length opcodes. And one problem that I still need to fix is there are lots of games, specifically retro games, that rewrite their assembly, but that's also possible. So you can use embed to embed a game ROM. I think the big message here is that there are wider uses. If you have data-oriented programming in mind, you could have pieces of functionality stored as files and just compile them into those inlineable functions as a compile step. So where you remove the runtime overhead of sometimes that comes with territory of having a data-oriented programming style. That was my talk. So thank you for your attention. And if you have any questions, feel free to send me a message on Discord or Gather or wherever. Thank you.